The sky above Detroit was clear on the night Olivia Winters disappeared. She was walking to her car after a late meeting with a client. As head of her own security firm, Olivia often worked unusual hours. At 29, she had already served 8 years in the Marine Corps Special Operations, skills that had proven valuable in her civilian life. She noticed something odd about the shadows near her car. They seemed to move in a way that didn't match the gentle breeze. Olivia's hand moved toward the gun she kept holstered at her side. Before her fingers could reach it, a bright light surrounded her. She felt a strange pulling sensation, and then everything went black. At almost the same moment, 2,000 miles away in California, Kate Donovan was working late in her lab at Stanford University. At 32, she was already changing the way doctors thought about gene therapy. Her latest project involved helping human cells adapt more quickly to different environments. Kate rubbed her tired eyes and decided it was time to go home. As she turned off her computer, the lights in the lab flickered. A strange humming filled the air, growing louder until it hurt her ears. A flash of light filled the room, and Kate vanished, leaving only her coffee mug spinning on the desk. In Colorado Springs, Samantha Powell was finishing her evening workout at the Combat Training Center where she taught. After winning gold in mixed martial arts at the last Olympics, she had opened the center to train the next generation of fighters. Samantha was alone in the building, locking up for the night. She felt a sudden change in air pressure, as if all the oxygen was being pulled away. Turning quickly, she saw a shimmering circle forming in the middle of the training mat. Before she could react, the circle expanded, surrounding her. Then she was gone. Olivia woke first. Her head pounded as she opened her eyes. The room around her looked like a fancy hotel suite, but something was wrong. The colors were slightly off and the furniture was shaped oddly, as if designed for bodies not quite human. The air smelled like cinnamon and metal. She tried to sit up and found she could move more easily than expected. The gravity felt lighter here wherever here was. Olivia swung her legs off the bed and stood carefully. She was wearing strange clothes, flowing fabric in deep blue, like a cross between hospital scrubs and expensive pajamas. "Hello?" said a voice that seemed to come from nowhere. "You are awake. This is good. Who are you? Where am I?" Olivia asked, her voice steady despite her racing heart. "I am attendant. You are aboard the Imperial vessel Eternal Dominion. You have been chosen for a great honor." A section of the wall slid open, revealing what looked like a bathroom, though the fixtures were strange shapes. "You may refresh yourself. Nutrition will be provided soon. The chief geneticist will then begin your assessment." "Geneticist?" Olivia asked sharply. "I want to speak to whoever's in charge here now. Commander Zalvex will speak with you when appropriate. Please prepare yourself." In another part of the ship, Kate Donovan was examining her surroundings with scientific curiosity mixed with fear. The room technology was far beyond anything she had seen on Earth. A floating panel near the bed displayed symbols that changed when she looked at them. "Fascinating," she whispered, touching the panel carefully. The symbols rearranged themselves at her touch. Kate had always been good at patterns and puzzles. She began experimenting with the symbols, trying to understand their meaning. A voice interrupted her. "Subject is showing inappropriate interest in control systems. Restriction recommended." "I'm just trying to understand where I am," Kate said, looking around for the source of the voice. "You are a genetic acquisition for the galactic hegemony. Your understanding is not required, merely your compliance." Kate's scientific mind raced. "Genetic acquisition? You mean breeding stock? That's why I'm here?" The voice didn't answer directly. "The Vexari bloodlines require refreshment. Human adaptive traits have been deemed compatible and desirable." Meanwhile, Samantha Powell was taking a different approach to her situation. When she woke, she immediately began testing the physical properties of her prison. The door wouldn't open. The strange window showed only stars. No planet, no sun, just endless space. The furniture was surprisingly light despite its solid appearance. She could easily lift what looked like a heavy table. Samantha began a series of exercises, testing how her body responded in the lighter gravity. Each movement felt strange at first, but she quickly adapted, finding she could jump nearly twice as high as normal. This information might be useful. When a section of wall opened and a tall, thin figure entered, Samantha was ready. The alien, because it was clearly not human, had grayish-blue skin and 4 arms. Its face featured large, slanted eyes, with no visible pupils. "You will come with me for assessment," the alien said, its mouth not moving. The words seemed to form directly in Samantha's mind. "And if I refuse?" Samantha asked, shifting her weight slightly, preparing for action. "Refusal is not an option for acquisitions," the alien stated. A second alien appeared in the doorway holding what looked like a weapon. Samantha decided to comply for now. Information was what she needed most, and resistance at this point would only limit what she could learn. On the command deck of the Eternal Dominion, Commander Zalvex received the initial reports on the 3 human females. All had regained consciousness and were responding differently to captivity. This was expected and would help determine their compatibility with various noble houses. "The specimens appear physically sound," reported Dr. Zelmore, the chief geneticist. "Initial scans show interesting genetic markers in all 3. The physical strength of the athletic one is particularly noteworthy. The military one shows enhanced neural connections associated with tactical thinking. The scientist has unusual brain activity in the problem-solving centers." Commander Zalvex nodded his elongated head. "The Emperor will be pleased. These acquisitions should fetch high status for our fleet. Proceed with detailed analysis and prepare them for presentation to the arriving nobles in 3 cycles." What neither the commander nor the geneticist understood was that they had made a serious error in their assessment of human females. On the Vexari homeworld, females were naturally compliant and physically weaker than males. They assumed Earth would be the same. They didn't realize that these 3 women, far from being easy to control, were among the most capable humans on their planet. And they had just given them very good reasons to work together to escape. In their separate rooms, each woman began planning. 3 days passed aboard the Eternal Dominion. Olivia paced her room, counting steps, memorizing every detail. She had been allowed short visits to other parts of the ship, always with guards watching. During these trips, she noted the locations of control panels, doorways, and the strange devices the aliens wore on their upper left arms. These seemed important. The aliens touched them before doors opened or lights changed. Olivia had also noticed patterns in the guard rotations. Every 6 hours, the guards changed. During the change, there was a 30-second gap when no one watched her door. Not enough time to escape yet, but useful information. She was sitting on the edge of her bed when the wall panel slid open. Dr. Zelmore entered. He looked like the other aliens, tall, thin, with 4 arms and blue-gray skin, but wore a different uniform with many small tools attached. "Your physical assessment continues today," he said in that strange way where his mouth didn't move but words formed in her mind. "You have adapted well to our gravity." "Where are the other women you took?" Olivia asked. She had asked this question every time someone came to her room. Dr. Zelmore tilted his head. "The other specimens are being evaluated separately. All are in good health. I want to see them." "That is not the protocol." Dr. Zelmore gestured to the door. "Come, we must measure your response to physical stress." Olivia followed him down a corridor lined with glowing panels. She memorized their path, 3 right turns, 1 left, into a large chamber filled with strange equipment. Kate Donovan was having a different experience. Her scientific background made her valuable to the aliens. They seemed impressed by her questions and allowed her access to simple information terminals. Kate had discovered the aliens called themselves the Vexari. They ruled over thousands of worlds in what they called the Galactic Hegemony. Their civilization was 15,000 years old, and they believed themselves superior to all other species. But Kate also learned something troubling. The Vexari birth rate had been declining for centuries. They needed fresh genetic material to strengthen their ruling bloodlines. That's why they had taken human women. Kate pretended to be fascinated and honored. She asked many questions about Vexari technology, especially their medical systems. Each answer gave her more understanding of the ship she was on. Each day she was allowed more access to the information terminals. Today she had managed something important. While the attendant wasn't looking, she had touched a sequence of symbols that gave her access to the ship's biological database. Kate now knew much more about Vexari physiology, including their weaknesses. Samantha Powell had spent her days differently. In her training sessions, the aliens tested her strength, speed, and fighting skills. They seemed surprised by what she could do in the lower gravity. "Your muscle density exceeds our projections," said the testing supervisor after Samantha completed a jumping exercise. "Your species has remarkable physical potential." Samantha kept her true abilities hidden. She performed well enough to satisfy them, but held back her full strength. She watched how the aliens moved, noting they had poor balance and slow reaction times compared to humans. During one test, she was allowed to handle training weapons. The aliens called them ceremonial combat instruments, and explained that some Vexari nobles enjoyed ritual fighting as entertainment. Samantha quickly learned how the weapons worked and stored this knowledge away. On the 7th day of their captivity, Dr. Zelmore brought an urgent report to Commander Zalvex. "The human specimens show concerning traits," Dr. Zelmore said, displaying a holographic image of human DNA alongside Vexari DNA. "These sequences here, they are what we call adaptive resilience factors." "Explain," commanded Zalvex. "Our species eliminated these genetic patterns 10,000 years ago. They allowed for rapid adaptation to new situations, but caused unpredictable behavior. We bred for stability and control instead." Dr. Zelmore's inner eyelids flickered nervously. "Humans still have these factors in abundance. They can change and adapt much faster than expected." "Is this not why we want their genetic material?" asked Zalvex. "Yes, but there is more. Their neural scans show activity patterns unlike anything in our database. They are constantly analyzing, planning, seeking weaknesses." Dr. Zelmore hesitated. "Commander, I believe these specimens may be more dangerous than we anticipated." "They are merely females from a primitive world," said Zalvex, dismissively. "Their species has barely reached their own moon. What danger could they pose to the hegemony? I recommend stronger security measures and keeping them separated," insisted Dr. Zelmore. "Your concern is noted," said Zalvex. "But the nobles arrive in 2 days for the presentation ceremony. All 3 specimens must be prepared and displayed together. Later that day, in a secure communication room, Grand Duke Tasverin, nephew to the Emperor himself, received Dr. Zelmore's report. Unlike Commander Zalvex, the Grand Duke took the warnings seriously. "Begin intensive monitoring," he ordered, his security chief. "I want to know everything these humans do. Test their resistance to compliance drugs. Prepare neural suppressors as a precaution." But it was already too late for such measures. The women had spent their time well. Olivia had mapped most of the ship's security systems. Kate had gained access to critical biological information and begun understanding the ship's environmental controls. Samantha had learned the physical weaknesses of their captors and how to use their weapons. None of them had revealed their full capabilities. All 3 had been given drugs meant to make them compliant, but their military, athletic, and scientific backgrounds had given them higher than normal resistance. On the day before the presentation ceremony, the women were finally brought together. They were taken to a large room where they would be prepared for the ceremony. 3 attendants worked to fit them with elaborate clothes while explaining the rituals they would need to follow. "You will be presented to noble houses seeking genetic partnerships," said the lead attendant. "It is a great honor. You will bow deeply when approached and speak only when spoken to." The women appeared to listen obediently, but their eyes were busy. When left alone briefly while the attendants gathered more materials, they whispered quickly to each other. "The ship's environmental systems can be accessed through the medical terminals," Kate said. "I can create a distraction." "Guards change at 6-hour intervals with a 30-second gap," Olivia added. "The command deck is 3 levels up." Their physical weakness is balance, Samantha said. Hit them at the lower joint of their right legs. They fall easily and take time to get up. They fell silent as the attendants returned, but a plan had begun to form. Tomorrow, when they were presented to the nobles, they would get their chance to act. The Vexari thought they were getting 3 compliant human brides. Instead, they were about to face the most dangerous kind of humans, those fighting for their freedom and their home. The day of the presentation ceremony arrived. The 3 women were brought to a large chamber filled with strange decorations. The ceiling glowed with shifting colors, and the walls displayed moving images of different worlds. Dozens of Vexari, nobles, moved about the room, their forearms adorned with jewelry and their long robes sweeping the floor. Commander Zalvex stood on a raised platform, speaking in the strange, silent way of his species. Esteemed nobles of the hegemony, we present 3 prime genetic specimens from the planet Earth. Their species shows remarkable adaptive traits that will strengthen our bloodlines. From a side entrance, attendants led Olivia, Kate, and Samantha into the room. They wore flowing robes in bright colors with golden symbols covering the fabric. Their hair had been arranged in complex styles with metal ornaments woven through it. The women kept their eyes down as they had been instructed, but each was carefully watching everything around them. Olivia counted 17 guards positioned around the room. Kate noted the location of every control panel. Samantha observed how the nobles moved, confirming their physical weaknesses. The specimens will now be presented individually, announced Commander Zalvex. Noble houses may approach for closer inspection and register their interest in genetic partnership. Kate was called forward first. A female Vexari noble approached her, moving with slow grace. This specimen shows exceptional intelligence, explained Dr. Zelmore, who stood nearby. Her understanding of complex systems is remarkable for her species. The noble reached out one of her 4 hands to touch Kate's face. Kate forced herself to remain still. Its skin coloring is pleasing, said the noble. What is its temperament? Curious and compliant, said Dr. Zelmore. It asks many questions, but follows instructions well. Kate kept her expression neutral, hiding her anger at being discussed like an animal. Next, Olivia was presented. This specimen has military training from its planet, explained Dr. Zelmore. Its tactical thinking abilities are highly developed. A male noble circled Olivia, examining her from all angles. Strong physical structure, he noted. It would bring useful traits to House Veridon. Samantha was the last to be presented. This specimen excels in physical combat, said Dr. Zelmore. Its strength and reaction time exceed our initial estimates. A large male noble approached Samantha with interest. He wore elaborate armor over his robes and moved with more confidence than the others. I am Lord Kazvuler, he announced. My house specializes in ceremonial combat traditions. This specimen interests me greatly. He reached out and gripped Samantha's arm roughly, testing her muscle tone. It is sturdy for such a small creature, he said with satisfaction. Samantha kept her face blank, but her eyes met Olivia's briefly. It was nearly time. In another part of the ship, Grand Duke Tazverin watched the ceremony through a security feed. Something about the humans bothered him. They were too calm, too observant. He had studied many species during his time as head of Imperial Intelligence, and he recognized the signs of predators assessing their surroundings. Increase security in the presentation chamber, he ordered, and prepare my shuttle. I will observe these humans personally. Back in the chamber, the nobles were discussing the women as if they were not present. Prices and genetic benefits were mentioned. Houses argued over who had first claim. Commander Zalvex looked pleased with the interest shown in his acquisitions. Kate caught Olivia's eye and gave a tiny nod. It was time to act. Kate had memorized the medical access codes she had discovered during her captivity. She reached slowly toward the ornament in her hair, which she had modified when no one was watching. With a quick movement, she pressed the metal piece against a nearby control panel. Immediately, alarms began to sound in a distant part of the ship. The Vexari looked around in confusion as emergency messages played over the ship's communication system. Environmental breach in science sector, announced a computerized voice. All personnel evacuate immediately. Commander Zalvex raised all four of his arms for attention. Remain calm. This is likely a minor system malfunction. Security teams will investigate. Many guards left the room to respond to the emergency. This was what the women had planned for. With fewer guards present, they made their move. Samantha acted first. When Lord Kazvuler was distracted by the alarms, she struck the weak point in his leg joint that she had identified during her training sessions. The large noble collapsed with a silent cry of pain. Samantha quickly removed the weapon he carried on his belt. Olivia took advantage of the confusion to approach a control panel near the main door. Using the access patterns she had memorized, she locked the chamber doors, trapping the nobles inside but preventing more guards from entering. Kate hurried to another panel and activated the ship's internal communication system. "Attention Earth vessels," she said clearly. "This is Kate Donovan aboard the alien vessel Eternal Dominion. We are being held against our will, along with Olivia Winters and Samantha Powell. We've taken control of the main ceremonial chamber. The ship's coordinates are visible on your tracking systems now." The Vexari nobles stared in shock. None of them had expected the humans to speak, let alone take action against them. Commander Zalvex moved toward Kate, his face showing the first human-like expression they had seen. Fear. "What have you done?" he demanded. "Exactly what any human would do when kidnapped," said Kate. "Called for help and fought back." The remaining guards tried to regain control, but Samantha used Lord Kazvuler's weapon with surprising skill. It emitted a beam of energy that didn't harm the guards but paralyzed them temporarily. "How does it know how to use a noble's blade?" gasped one of the female nobles. "No off-worlder has ever mastered such a weapon." Olivia had positioned herself at the chamber's main control panel. "I've locked down all access to this section," she announced to the others. "We can hold this position until help arrives." "Help cannot arrive," said Commander Zalvex with recovering confidence. "Your species has no faster-than-light travel capability. We are 20 light-years from your world." The women exchanged knowing smiles, but said nothing. The Vexari had made many incorrect assumptions about humans. This was just one more. Grand Duke Tazvarine arrived outside the locked chamber, surrounded by elite guards. When he heard what was happening inside, he didn't look surprised. "They are not what they appear to be," he told his security chief. "These are not simple breeding females, they are human warriors." Outside the locked ceremonial chamber, Grand Duke Tazvarine assessed the situation. His elite guards prepared cutting tools to breach the doors. "How long?" he asked his security chief. 20 minutes to cut through, Your Eminence," the security chief replied. Tazvarine nodded. "Begin. But understand what we face. These humans are not what our intelligence suggested. Our reports claimed human females were physically weaker and more compliant than males. This is clearly wrong." Inside the chamber, the three women worked quickly. Kate accessed the ship's systems through the control panel, while Olivia kept watch on the nobles, and Samantha guarded the door with the energy weapon she had taken. "Their cutting tools will break through in about 20 minutes, Kate told the others. "I've found access to the life support systems. We can control temperature, gravity, and air pressure in this section." "Good," said Olivia. "That gives us leverage." She turned to the commander. "Zalvex, tell your people to back off or we'll make things very uncomfortable in here." The commander's inner eyelids flickered rapidly. "You cannot escape. Even if you control this chamber, you are still deep in hegemony space." Samantha smiled. "You're wrong about that, just like you were wrong about humans. Our people are coming." "Impossible," said one of the nobles. "Your species has no faster-than-light travel." "That's what we wanted you to think," said Kate. "Earth has been developing experimental FTL technology for the past 5 years. We keep it secret because we suspected other intelligent life might exist. When you took us, you confirmed our suspicions. This was not entirely true, but the women had agreed to bluff. They didn't know if Earth could track them, but creating doubt and confusion among the Vexari was their best strategy." Olivia addressed the nobles directly. "You call yourselves an advanced civilization, but you kidnapped us from our homes to use as breeding stock. On Earth, we call that a crime. The nobles looked at each other in confusion. One female noble stepped forward. We did not understand this would cause offense. The lesser species of the hegemony consider genetic partnership with Vexari to be an honor. We're not one of your lesser species, said Samantha firmly. Humans don't submit just because someone claims to be superior. Meanwhile, in the space near the Eternal Dominion, small distortions appeared. Unlike the massive hegemony ships, Earth's experimental vessels were designed for stealth. Captain Alan Shepard of the scout ship Retribution watched his tactical display as his small fleet of 5 ships moved into position. Confirmed target, he ordered his sensor officer. Confirmed, sir. The Eternal Dominion is a hegemony diplomatic vessel, currently at standard orbit. We're detecting unusual activity aboard, multiple security alerts and internal communications. Any sign they've detected us? Negative, Captain. Their sensors are calibrated for much larger energy signatures. Our stealth systems are holding. Shepard nodded. Open a channel to the other ships. Prepare for synchronized approach. Back aboard the Eternal Dominion, Grand Duke Tazvarine received alarming news. Your Eminence, we're detecting unusual space-time distortions near our position. They don't match any known signature in our database. Tazvarine's eyes narrowed. Scan again. Could it be sensor malfunction? Negative, Your Eminence. The distortions are increasing. A cold feeling spread through Tazvarine's body. The humans had been telling the truth. Earth vessels were approaching, somehow undetected by hegemony sensors. Inside the ceremonial chamber, Kate monitored the ship's external sensor feeds she had accessed. They're here, she told Olivia and Samantha quietly. 5 ships, using the new phased approach method. Olivia nodded and turned to Commander Zalvex. Your ship is now surrounded by Earth vessels. They're currently invisible to your sensors because they use technology you don't understand. I suggest you start talking about how we can resolve this peacefully. The commander looked skeptical until alarms began sounding throughout the ship. Unknown vessels detected. Battle stations. The ceremonial chamber erupted in chaos. Nobles demanded protection. Guards tried to establish order, and the cutting operation at the door suddenly stopped. Outside the chamber, Grand Duke Tazvarin made a quick decision. Cease cutting. We need those humans unharmed. But Your Eminence, his security chief began. Do as I say. Open a communication channel to the human vessels. On the bridge of the Retribution, Captain Shepard received the hegemony's transmission. They're hailing us, sir. On screen, Shepard ordered. The image of Grand Duke Tazvarin appeared. His forearms were held in what the Earth ship's computers identified as a diplomatic posture. I am Grand Duke Tazvarin of the Galactic Hegemony. I believe you have come for your people. Shepard stood tall. I am Captain Alan Shepard of Earth. You have kidnapped 3 of our citizens. Return them immediately, or we will take action. A regrettable misunderstanding, said Tazvarin smoothly. We had no diplomatic protocols established with your world. Our cultural acquisition team followed standard procedures for pre-contact species. Kidnapping is not a cultural acquisition, Shepard replied coldly. Our weapons are locked on your ship's key systems. Return our people now. Inside the ceremonial chamber, the women watched the exchange on the control panel displays. Kate had established a direct link to the Retribution. Captain Shepard, Kate called. We've secured our position but need extraction. We can guide your boarding team to our location. Understood, Dr. Donovan, Shepard replied. Boarding team is preparing now. Grand Duke Tazvarin, hearing this exchange, made another quick decision. This situation has escalated unnecessarily. I propose an immediate diplomatic solution. We will return your people and establish formal contact protocols with Earth. Shepard looked skeptical. And why should we trust you? Because the hegemony has endured for 15,000 years by knowing when to fight and when to negotiate, said Tazvarin. Your species has surprised us. This deserves respect, not conflict. Olivia took control of the communication. Captain, we believe a diplomatic solution is possible, but maintain combat readiness. The Vexari respect strength above all. Understood, said Shepard. Boarding team is launching. Stand by for extraction. Commander Zalvex looked at the three women with new understanding. You called your military with specific coordinates. You knew they could find you. You planned this from the beginning. Not exactly, said Samantha. We didn't plan to be kidnapped, but we adapted, observed, and found a way to contact our people. That's what humans do. Outside the ship, Earth's small but advanced vessels maintained position, their weapons locked, on the much larger hegemony ship. The boarding shuttle approached, guided by Kate's transmission. The Vexari were about to learn another lesson about humans. They protected their own, no matter the cost. The Earth boarding shuttle docked with the Eternal Dominion. 6 soldiers in sleek combat armor emerged, led by Lieutenant Lisa Chen. They moved quickly through the corridors, following the path Kate had transmitted to them. Grand Duke Tazavarin met them halfway, accompanied by only 2 guards. He held his forearms in a position that the Earth team's translators identified as peaceful negotiation. I will escort you to your people, Tazavarin said. There is no need for weapons. Lieutenant Chen kept her rifle ready. We'll keep our weapons, thank you. Lead the way. Tazavarin nodded. A wise precaution. Your species is more cautious than we understood. They reached the ceremonial chamber where the cutting operation had been abandoned. Tazavarin approached the door and spoke into a communication panel. This is Grand Duke Tazavarin. I am here with your rescue team. We wish to resolve this situation peacefully. Inside the chamber, the 3 women looked at each other. Should we trust him? Asked Samantha. Not completely, said Olivia. But he seems to understand the situation better than the others. Kate checked the security feeds she had accessed. The boarding team looks legitimate. I recognize Lieutenant Chen from training exercises last year. Olivia nodded and approached the control panel. We'll open the door, but we're keeping control of the ship's environmental systems until we're safely away. She unlocked the door, which slid open to reveal Tazavarin and the Earth rescue team. Lieutenant Chen stepped forward, her face showing relief. Dr. Donovan, Ms. Winters, Ms. Powell, are you injured? We're fine, said Kate. Just ready to go home. The Vexari nobles behind us believe they're here for a genetic trade agreement, Olivia explained quickly. They don't understand. Kidnapping is a crime. Lieutenant Chen's expression hardened as she looked at Tazavarin. Your people have committed an act of war against Earth. The only reason we're not taking more aggressive action is that our citizens appear unharmed. Tazavarin's inner eyelids flickered. As I explained to your captain, this was a cultural misunderstanding. The hegemony has dealt with thousands of species, each with different customs. We had no diplomatic protocols established with Earth. That doesn't justify abduction, said Chen firmly. Perhaps not by your standards, admitted Tazavarin. But consider this an opportunity. The hegemony rarely initiates diplomatic relations with pre-FTL species. Your unexpected capabilities have earned respect. The nobles in the chamber watched with confusion and fear. They had never seen Vexari leadership, negotiating as equals with any species. Commander Zalvex stepped forward. Your Eminence, we cannot allow these creatures to dictate terms to the hegemony. It violates 15,000 years of tradition. Tazavarin's forearms moved in a dismissive gesture. Tradition must adapt or die, Commander. These humans have demonstrated qualities our intelligence completely missed. We believed them primitive because their technology appeared limited. We were wrong. Samantha kept Lord Casvuller's weapon trained on the nobles. We're leaving now. Any objections? No one spoke. Lieutenant Chen and her team formed a protective formation around the 3 women as they moved toward the door. Tazavarin stepped aside to let them pass. I request permission to send a diplomatic envoy to Earth within 1 standard rotation, said Tazavarin. There is much our peoples could learn from each other. That's not our decision to make, said Olivia. Earth's governments will decide how to respond to your first contact approach. As they made their way back to the boarding shuttle, Kate continued to monitor ship systems through a portable device she had taken from the chamber. No signs of weapons activation or pursuit craft launching, she reported. They're being smarter than I expected, said Olivia. Lieutenant Chen looked at them with newfound respect. Captain Shepard told us you took control of their ceremonial chamber with barely any weapons. How did you manage that? Samantha smiled. They thought they were getting compliant breeding females. They got a Marine, a scientist, and a combat athlete instead. And they never bothered to properly secure their computer systems against us, added Kate. They assumed we couldn't understand their technology. They reached the shuttle and boarded quickly. As the doors closed, they felt the slight shift as the shuttle detached from the hegemony ship. Captain Shepard is maintaining weapons lock on. They're key systems, said Lieutenant Chen, but they're not showing any signs of hostility. Through the shuttle's viewport, they watched as the massive Eternal Dominion grew smaller. The shuttle docked with the Retribution, and Captain Shepard was waiting when they arrived. Welcome aboard, he said. You've caused quite a stir. Not just with the Vexari, but back home too. Every government on Earth is scrambling to respond to first contact. Sorry about that, said Olivia with a slight smile. Don't be, said Shepard. Your actions may have saved humanity from a much worse first contact. If they'd continued to see us as primitive, they might have taken more aggressive action. As the small fleet of Earth ships prepared to jump back to the solar system, Grand Duke Tazverin sent one final message. To the representatives of Earth, he said, his image appearing on the Retribution's main screen. The hegemony acknowledges your species as sovereign and independent. We request formal diplomatic relations. There is much we could learn from each other. Captain Shepard looked at the three women. How should I respond? Tell him we'll consider it, said Kate. But any future discussions happen on our terms, not theirs. Shepard nodded and transmitted the response. The screen went dark, and the order was given to return home. 3 months later, Olivia, Kate, and Samantha sat together in a conference room at the newly formed Earth Diplomatic Corps headquarters. They had spent weeks debriefing military and scientific teams about everything they had learned aboard the hegemony ship. The Vexari delegation arrives tomorrow, said the Secretary General. As the only humans with direct experience of their culture, you three are our most valuable advisors. What should we expect? The three women looked at each other before Olivia answered. They respect strength and adapt quickly when faced with something that challenges their assumptions. They ruled thousands of worlds for 15,000 years because they're politically smart, even if they're physically weaker than us. Their biggest weakness is thinking they already know everything, added Kate. They categorize new species based on old patterns. And they completely underestimate females of any species, said Samantha with a smile. I suggest we make sure women lead our delegation. The Secretary General nodded thoughtfully. I believe that can be arranged. After all, you three have already taught them that humans, especially human women, are not to be underestimated. As they left the meeting, Kate looked at her friends. Do you think the hegemony has any idea how much they changed Earth by taking us? Probably not, said Olivia. They've spent thousands of years thinking they're the most advanced civilization in the galaxy. They don't understand what humans can do when challenged. They will, said Samantha confidently. They're about to find out that taking 3 human women was the biggest mistake their empire ever made, and the best thing that could have happened to humanity.